Very warm good evening to all. Today we will be discussing a topic which is very important from the angle of the criminal trial, that is medical jurisprudence. Now, medical jurisprudence is something which can play a very decisive role and very important role while it decides the any criminal trial. Now, whenever you do any criminal trial, mostly if there are offenses related to human body, what happens that any offense related to human body has to be proved before the court. Now, how do we prove? Because if there is a medical injury, if there is a the person is no more, now what happens that this person, this all things has to be facts has to be proved before the court. So only by ocular evidence, that is ocular evidence का मतलब होता है कि सिर्फ आंखों देखा हाल उससे प्रूव नहीं हो सकता है. It has to be supported by medical evidence. I was running a trial under POCSO where there was no medical evidence. Now, even if the girl comes before the court and says I am raped, but if there is no medical evidence to support that matter, support that case, then it is actually really impossible to convict the accused. So, from this one example, you can understand that if medical evidence is not in place, in proper place, and it is not proved, the testimony of doctor or the medical officer who is called before the court to give testimony, to give deposition, if his veracity is not proved, then it is highly impossible that your litigant will be or your client will be convicted. So always remember that whenever you get a charge sheet, try to read the injury certificates, try to read the postmortem reports and see what is the cause of that. Also, if injury, they have said it is only vital part of the body. If they have applied 326 Indian Penal Code. Now, this is a very grievous hurt. It is always, if you read 326 Indian Penal Codes, definition, you will say in the vital part of the body injury kiya hai. Now here when we say 326 and actually the offense is under 324, it is not a vital. See, if it is on the wrist, even with the knife or rampuri chaku katta, then also it is not, wrist is not a vital part of the body. But if it is on the stomach, if it is on the head, if it is on the neck, it is on the vital part of the body. So understand 326, 320 can be converted. If it is on the vital part of the body, the offense registered under section 324, it can be converted to 326. Also, it can be converted to 307, which we popularly call as half murder case. Now, always remember that this can go reverse also. The matter under 307 can be converted to 326 and matter under 326 can be converted to 324. It all depends on injury reports. The injury report is the one of the important part of the medical evidence which comes before the court. Now, this medical evidence does not mean कि उन्होंने charge sheet में medical papers लगे. That is not enough. That medical officer has to come. If he is not available, the person who knows the handwriting of that medical officer has to come before court. So always remember, medical reports are very important. So whenever you get a charge sheet, don't feel it is a matter under 307, 320 or 302 Indian Penal Code murder case. No, or even if it is a rape case, actually read it. I have read one charge sheet where the charges were slapped against my client of the rape, but जो मेडिकल ऑफिसर लेडी ऑफिसर थी उसने लिखा सेक्सुअल रिलेशन बिटवीन द पार्टीज since last 3 years. One, secondly, it was consensual. See, the medical officer wrote it was consensual, not forceful. Now when she came before the court, I could take in cross examination if this is I'm sorry, this is your medical report, is this your handwriting? She said yes. Did the victim girl told you or said you in that context that the relations were 3 years? She said yes. It was for consensual. Of course, it was consensual. Now this helped me that it was not a rape. It was a consensual physical relations. So it is no more a rape case. So how easy it is to prove, to bring the medical report and get your whatever. So there will be always be ocular evidence, eyewitness evidence. It's a different thing, and medical evidence is very different thing. Now here I would like to add one part here, and which is very important. That is Modi's jurisprudence. Now, all the doctors, practicing doctors and practicing lawyers always refer this book, Modi's Jurisprudence. Now, this book you may not buy, but you will get in every library, every trial court's library mostly. And if it is not there, try to speak to the court staff who runs the library. Ask them, कि medical jurisprudence का जो मोदी का jurisprudence का book है, can we get in library? It is one book which is referred by most of the lawyers whenever you have to cross-examine a doctor. See, we are lawyers. We may not know how does engineering work, how does the medical field work. I may not understand even the medical handwriting also, medical practitioner handwriting as well also. There are some jokes also. It is very difficult to understand their handwriting. But jokes apart, we should always see actually what is the, if they write RX, what is the meaning of that? So we should be more prepared than a doctor. I remember in Mumbai Session Court when I was there in one matter, Harshad Ponda sir is a senior Ponda Papa is also called in the legal field. He was examining a doctor and the doctor was sweating because he was knowing so much about the medical field. Then the doctor itself, with all respect, due respect to the doctor, all the doctors, that because I was like, how he can examine like this? He was not a doctor, but he has read the medical jurisprudence of the Modi. Somebody was saying, discussing. The sir has read and sir has taken out every point from that. So this book is very important. The book's name is Modi's Jurisprudence. I have one judgment also, which from the Allahabad High Court. And now this judgment, now it has been challenged before the Honorable Supreme Court by me. The matter is, it's a matrimonial dispute. The matter is actually settled. But I will be referring that judgment later on once my matter gets over, because it's not right to put somebody's life in the public eye. Now this here, it was a matter where the girl was not born within that 9 months. And he was saying that because of the DNA report, the child is not mine. Ultimately, the matter got settled. But there is always this thing that this medical jurisprudence is referred even by the Allahabad High Court and also the lawyer by the trial court. So always remember, medical jurisprudence is very important. And though we are lawyers, as a criminal lawyer, we should know what is medical jurisprudence. Another one more thing I would like to tell, there are some postmortem reports also. Try to read postmortem reports. Also, there are some cases where there is a dying declaration. And this is now under section 32 of Indian Evidence Act. This dying declaration is the very important part of any case where the person is no more. Now, any person who is going to die, the law says that he speaks nothing but the truth. Now, this cannot be taken as a gospel truth, because there may be 2-3 dying declaration, there may be some other reasons. There is a possibility the person is already dead, but the police prosecution may try to record some words and they say it is a dying declaration to prove their case. It usually happen in the matters where there are matrimonial disputes and the girl died, and actually it's a genuine case. But see, law works on the actual evidence. It does not work on the emotions of the clients or emotions of the people. It requires document, it requires paper, it requires evidence. Now, I had one case where the girl died within the 7 years of marriage. 304B section was there. Now, the doctor came. This girl was from South Indian family. She used to speak Hindi and only her Tamil language. She was not speaking any other language, and her study was in Kannada. She was from Mumbai, but she used to speak Tamil at home. Now she was not aware about any other language except this, except she could speak Hindi. She could not read, but she could speak Hindi because she was brought up in Maharashtra for some time. Now here the doctor came. It was a dying declaration under section 32 of Evidence Act. The doctor was thoroughly examined by the prosecution. I was literally had no case what to ask doctor, but because there was a dying declaration, it was written that तिला मराठीतून समजावून सांगितले at the end of the dying declaration. Now I knew my client was South Indian. Doctor's name was I am not saying, but I could make out the doctor was Gujarati doctor. Now he speaking Marathi is actually very difficult, but a lot of Gujarati people speak Marathi. But then I took a chance that mostly the Gujarati people will speak Hindi. My client, I had asked my client that the person who has his wife was no more, what language she used to speak. Then she used to speak Tamil, and she knew the Kannada to write and read and write, and also she knew one more language, that is Hindi to speak. Now there was no question of explaining the complete statement to her in Marathi. So why it was written? But police wrote it, and I asked the doctor one question only one question, one or two question in line. What is the language the lady was speaking, who was on the dying bed? He just looked at me and मुझे भी कुछ सूझा नहीं. मैंने पूछा कि कुठल्या भाषेत बोलली. तो उसको जैसे ही मैंने बोला ती कुठल्या भाषेत बोली, कौन सी भाषा में बोली, मैंने ऐसे मराठी में पूछा कुठल्या भाषेत बोली. उनको लगा कि मुझे मालूम है कि मराठी में बोला, और वो स्टेटमेंट में भी लिखा हुआ था कि मराठी में समझा, बोला मराठी में. एंड आई हैड एक्चुअली आस्क्ड हर फादर कि आपकी बेटी का एजुकेशन कौन से लैंग्वेज में होता है, वो कौन सी भाषा बोलती थी, बिकॉज द एंटायर चार्जशीट वाज इन मराठी. देयर वाज नो क्वेश्चन ऑफ हर पेरेंट्स आल्सो अंडरस्टैंडिंग मराठी. उनको हिंदी भी बहुत मुश्किल से समझ में आती थी. So actually it helped me. See, doctor was a star witness who could have proved कि dying declaration कितना easy था prove करना. She came, she told before the doctor that I died because of my mother-in-law was not treating me well, my husband was not treating me well. Actually, she was no more, and there were other reasons also. There was some gold ornaments which her father has taken from my clients. There was some loan given by my client to her father. Because she had a stepmother, she was brought and born up with my client's help. There was so many other circumstances. It's not only because of dying declaration I got acquittal. There were many other reasons. Because of that, I got I got the acquittal in this matter. Also, there were history in our family of getting burnt. They were in suicidal tendency. So this is the way I got acquittal. But one of the doctor incident which I wanted to share was like with doctor only one. I did not even touch the medical things because it was too really difficult for me to understand the medical terms that time. Even today it will be really difficult. But one sentence, one question from me, in which language she was speaking, and here the officer also knew that she was not speaking in Marathi. So what is important here is your presence of mind. Number two, your study of the charge sheet, also the medical papers. If I would not have read her dying declaration properly, I would not have got this line that in which language she was speaking, though it was Marathi written there, but she did not knew how to speak Marathi. So this was all about the medical evidence which can be useful to you while you run the criminal trial. So always remember that medical evidence is one of the important part of your criminal trial, which can actually overturn the trial into the acquittal instead of with the conviction if you are for the accused, or otherwise also reverse also it is possible. So we will now proceed to next part, that is reading by Rudrakshi. Rudrakshi, kindly unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a minute. Rudrakshi will be reading this. This is not High Court judgment, but I would like Rudrakshi to read. It is Delhi District Court, which is available on the internet. It's a criminal revision. But I found it a little useful for all of us. Rudrakshi, you can start from here. These 8 revision petitions.
Okay, ma'am. These 8 revision petitions are directed against order dated 1/5/2018 passed by trial court in one complaint case titled versus Ramvati versus Brigg, Rajendra Singh and others, bearing CC number 772/2017 under section 200 CRPC, PS Krishna Nagar, White, impugned order, trial court allowed application under section 156(3) CRPC moved by complainant Srimati Ramvati, respondent number 1 herein, and gave direction to SHO concerned for registration of FIR. Brief facts of this case. Briefly stated, the relevant facts given rise to the petitions in hand are that complainant respondent number 1 herein filed a complaint against employees of EDMC. The allegations were made against 15 officers of EDMC, including Commissioner, EDMC, various deputy commissioners and engineers. The complainant alleged that she, page 4 of 14, Pulastya Paramchala, Special Judge PC Act CBI, East District Karkarduma Court, Delhi Criminal Revision Numbers 59/2018, 83/2018, 86/2018, 87/2018, 88/2018, 89/2018, 90/2018, and 92/2018 had purchased a property bearing number B5 Kantinagar, Delhi on 24 June 1971 from its erstwhile owner. This property was an old property which was built way back in the year 1971. One show cause notice dated 17 Feb 2010 was issued by MCD in the name of S.H. Chetram. It was replied by son of complainant S.S. Chetram, was husband of complainant, who expired on 13 June 2006. Applications were moved on behalf of complainant for desealing her aforesaid property, and complainant also approached appellate tribunal MCD against actions of MCD. Appellant tribunal had directed for desealing of her property by order dated 12 December 2011 and had also directed for fresh decisions on the representation of complainant. Though the amendments have not been made in very coherent manner, but it transpires from the complainant that after concluding the proceeding of hearing, the complainant once again an order under section 345A of DMC Act was passed by EDMC, thereby giving directions for sealing the property of complainant. This order is dated on 22 June 2012, but same was signed by Ms. Alka R. Sharma with date of 20 June 2012. The notice dated 17 Feb 2010 was issued in the name of Mr. Chetram. Though he was not alive at that time and son of complainant had given information of such fact in his communication to EDMC, still such notice was issued in the name of Chetram. Furthermore, the aforesaid order dated 22 June 2012 referred to inspections carried out at site on 30 Jan 2012 and 13 Feb 2012. According to complainant, no such inspections were carried out and even notice was not actually sent to the complainant. Complainant alleged that officials of EDMC had forged the documents in order to harass her and to cause wrongful loss to her. Complainant alleged about commission of offences under section 419, 420, 467, 468, 471. Page 5 of 14, Pulastya Paramchala, Special Judge, PC Act CBI, East District Karkarduma Courts, Delhi Criminal Provision Numbers 59/2018, 83/2018, 86/2018, 87/2018, 88/2018, 89/2018, 90/2018, and 92/2018. The grounds: the petitioners in 8 revision petitions have challenged the impugned order mainly on the following relevant grounds: that impugned order dated 1 Feb 2018 is unjust, improper, and perverse. The trial court did not appreciate the facts and circumstances of the fact and overlooked the report filed by police. If trial court had done so, then there was not even an iota of material against the petitioners. That Amam failed to appreciate that actions was to be taken against unauthorized construction of the complainant. Complainant, in order to avoid actions against her illegal construction, filed complaint so that no punitive action is taken against unauthorized construction. That it Amam failed to appreciate that complainant was filed to pressurize the officials of EDMC so that they succumb to illegal demands of the complainant and not to take actions against the unauthorized construction. That it Amam failed to appreciate that Section 477 of DMC Act gives protection against prosecution in any court for anything which is done in good faith. That petitioners cannot be made to undergo harassment of criminal trial in order to buttress the personal vendetta of complainant. That it Amam
Wait, Rudrakshi. This is
Yes,
this LD is learned MM, learned Metropolitan Magistrate. Fine.
okay, ma'am.
Just a minute.
Okay.
Start from reading from here. The trial court. The blue one.
That trial court failed to appreciate the regularization application dated 21 Feb 2018 is not a regularization application as per requirement. Honorable Appellant Tribunal MCD never asked for filing the regularization application. The regularization application was addressed to Deputy Commissioner, Land and Building Department, Sharda South Zone, Karkar Courts, Delhi, but no such post exists in the department. The regularization application was filed to misguide the department. That trial court failed to appreciate the fact that there was no need to file second regularization application when the first one was already pending. The trial court failed to appreciate the fact that second application was filed without any supporting documents. It was initiated to complainant filed valid notice on EEB 1 SS 2014 D1355 dated 23 April 2014, which was duly served to the complainant. The trial court failed to appreciate that complainant had not placed on record any document which shows that construction was prior to 2006. The trial court did not appreciate that house of complainant is below ground level and lower floor can be considered as basement. In building bylaws, basement is defined as the lower story of the building below or partly below ground level. The trial court did not appreciate the fact that petitioner O.P. Vimal was the only member of sealing team who sealed the page 7 of 14. Pulastya Param Chala. Special Judge, PC Act CBI, East District Karkar Courts, Delhi Criminal Revision Numbers 59 2008.
You can say so and so. Property on.
Okay. And so property on 19 June as 2010 as per orders of then Deputy Commissioner. The trial court did not appreciate the fact that Honorable Appellant Tribunal MCD wide order dated 12 December 2011 had quashed and set aside the sealing order dated 24 May 2010. And O.P. Vimal was EE till November 2011. Therefore, O.P. Vimal had no role to play. No cognizable offences made out against O.P. Vimal as he left the building department, Shahadara South Zone, Delhi in the year 2011. That trial court did not appreciate the fact that petitioner Iqbal Umar Khan was only witness on the show cause notice dated 15 Jan 2010 under section 343 and 344 1 DMC Act and demolition under dated 25 Jan 2010. That trial court did not appreciate the petitioner Iqbal Umar Khan was JE till October 2010. Therefore, he had no role to play. The trial court did not appreciate the fact that petitioner Kuldeep Chopra was posted in the building department on 15 July 2014 and the sealing order was passed on 26 June 2016 by the Deputy Commissioner. The trial court did not appreciate the petitioner Ashish Kumar Gupta was the only member of the sealing team who sealed the property on 19 June 2010 as per orders of then Deputy Commissioner Ashish Kumar was till November 2011. Therefore, he had no role to play. Appreciation of arguments and findings as well as decision. On pursual of complainant, I could not find any clear-cut contention, page 8 of 14. Special Judge, PCX CBI, East District, Karkarduma Court, Delhi, Criminal Revision Numbers, and so on, regarding forgery of a particular document, and hence counsel for respondent was asked to explain as to which document was forged and what is the ground to allege that such document was forged. It was argued by counsels for complainant that documents like order dated 22 June 2012, notice sent to complainant on 7 June 2012 are forged documents because there are cutting in these documents which amount to forgery. It was further argued that same number of letter was mentioned on notice for three different persons occupying different properties. It was further pointed out that a different property number was mentioned in the heading of a report of EDMC, though para 1 to same referred to complainant who has a different property. This document is placed as Annexure G, LD Council,
Learned counsel.
Learned Council submitted that this is also a kind of forgery. He further submitted that para 2 of order dated 22 June 2012 under section 345A DMC referred to service of letter upon husband of complainant, though husband of complainant had already died on 13 June 2006 and therefore it is also a case of forgery. Similarly, he referred to another document that is Annexure E, which is copy of envelope addressed to Srimati Chetram and submitted that no such person resided at the given address and therefore this is also a case of forgery. Learned counsel further took my attention to documents at page number 54 to 56. Learned counsel submitted that no inspection was carried out and it was so noted in the noting also inspection was not conducted. Still in the order dated 26 December 2012, it was mentioned that inspection was carried out, thus false stands were taken by officials of EDMC and notice was issued to a deceased person, namely Chet Ram, and all such facts refers to case of forgery.
Wait, Rukraj. Good reading. See, this was a revision against the MM Court's petition. There was a case by the Delhi Municipal Corporation. You can see it was about the demolition and also. So what we have to look, not the case here. What are the grounds they have taken for revision? See the words used, the language used. So what is more important we here saw is something where what are the grounds taken. If you read this judgment again, you will find that what are the grounds taken for revision. Revision is not something, as discussed, is not a final order of the court which is actually challenged. It is not an appeal. It is something which is passed against you and you feel that you cannot file the appeal. In such cases, you have to file the revision. Now, this was about the actually revision. There were total 8 revisions. So you can find whenever you have to file a revision, you can find such kind of judgment and draft your revision petition or revision application. Now, one very important part I would like to discuss today is about the Stridhan. Stridhan is actually a very easy concept for the lawyer to understand, but it is very difficult concept for the common people to understand. But there is also another aspect. Is there a Purushdan? Some people ask me. The answer is yes also, because see, whenever a marriage happens, there are some ornaments given to the husband as well. Now, if the husband is given the, let's take over, it's a watch, a wrist watch is given, or probably a gold chain is given, or gold bracelet is given. Now, this is also gift. As per the Hindu law, once gift is given, it can never be asked back by the donor. So, donor is the receiver. Now, in marriage, when the husband receives any gift, it is his property. But on the other side, when it is a Stridhan, a lot of women says that I have to get my Stridhan. Also, the ornaments which my father gave, or my mother gave, or my sister gave, my sister's husband gave to my husband, has also to be brought back. No, it's not that. See, law is very clear. Law says Stridhan is something which is gifted to a lady or a girl after her engagement ceremony. It may include Raksha Bandhan money also, engagement, her marriage, or anything thereafter, till she is divorced. Everything which is given to her is her stridhan. It may be land, it may be cash, it may be ornament, it may be clothes, it may be your vessel, it may be refrigerator, it may be a furniture. These are all, everything is her stridhan. It may be given by her parents, it may be given by her in-laws, it may be given by her friends. Now even her parents will not have any authority, leave alone her in-laws. Her parents will not have an authority. Now this all, husband is just a trustee. If she can ask everything, whether she is staying with him or with not with him. She has all the right. But the only thing which we, when I fight lot many cases, I see that the educated woman comes to their home, mother's home, and they say, I have left all my ornaments there. Now this is not an answer. It is very difficult to prove. We are educated people, so we should know that what are our rights. So it is our right as a lawyers to educate the common girls. You may be having at least 50 relatives, uh, ladies, whom you can explain what is the stridhan. Stridhan is something given to a girl from her engagement to her marriage or till her she dies. See, stridhan is not even only related to marriage. Stridhan is also otherwise also, anything gifted to her is her own property. Now next we come to the, when a husband is gifted something by the wife, can she ask that back? No, she cannot ask that back. The law is very clear and very neutral to, even to, it's gender neutral, I would say. If a husband has been gifted gold chain, he has been gifted the bracelet or a finger ring, that is his property. And under Hindu law, a gift given can never be asked back. So this is also very important part to understand the how the properties of the married couple are dealt. If you read section 27 of Hindu Marriage Act, you will find the answer. What are the properties? Now under section 27, the court can settle the disputes between, that is the family court can disputes in the metropolitan cities, and at the Mufizal court, senior division can settle the matters between the husband and about their properties. It may be anything. Now under Domestic Violence Act also we find the Stridhan provision. We also find under 406 also you can complain. We see many complaints under section 498A along with section 406 of Indian Penal Code. That is misappropriation of the property. Now misappropriation of the funds or something. Now here 406, whichever, if there is a, the husband or the in-laws are not giving the properties of that lady, then it will be like an offense under 406 of Indian Penal Code. So there are basically these three laws you can take help and you can recover your this stridhan. Also same way under section 27, even a husband can make an application in the divorce petition or in the conjugal petition, or Hindu any गाँव के side में MP petition बोलते हैं, marriage petition, that is MP petition. In MP petition, even the husband can make an application for his purushdan, I would say, which is not actually defined anywhere in the law. So